Y'all just further in.
Look, I think that I would be drinking the bottled water.
EPA was also there, and we had asked, Chris specifically had asked EPA if they could come in by themselves or without signing of any agreements, and they denied that.
When I'd left to go back over, the fumes in town were nothing like they were on 170 coming out of that creek. I inhaled that air, and I thought I was going to freaking die.
So the trains were actually on fire, had already caught on fire before it derailed and crashed, to which I say, what the hell is going on here?
As I'm sure you probably already know, the residents of East Palestine are not happy with the way the government is taking care of business regarding the derailment of the train, regarding the safety of the area, regarding the evacuation order, regarding the governor's opinion, regarding the governor's statements, regarding anything that has anything to do with people's safety and the reliability of the government to handle any kind of meaningful relationship when it comes to meaningfully holding the people's best interest in mind. And where there is just so much to go through. They held a town hall last night. The town hall was essentially as many people could fit into that building as possible to rip the government apart. And to be simply put, they just weren't happy with the answers they got. To start us off here, this is from the Citizen Free Press on Twitter. East Palestine resident unfiltered. The railroad called me today and said they'd pay all my moving expenses, first and last month rent, because I can't go in that house. How many of these people are sleeping in houses where their kids are laying there breathing that stuff in? Video's kind of hard to hear, so I pulled it all the way up to the point that's meaningful that's quoted here. We're going to take a listen. So the video is very hard to hear. Must have been taken from on the other side of the gymnasium where this actually took place, the town hall. But you can hear the crowd cheering her on. Like you can clearly hear that they are rooting for something to be done. Next here. This is from a Efrain Flores Monsanto on Twitter. A home here in East Palestine is flying their American flag upside down, commonly used to show a nation in distress. That there from Rebel News USA. I think we're starting to get the picture here of the sentiment that these people are beginning to have about how they feel about their government, their country, and where they are right now with their safety. It's extremely unfortunate. Again, like I do not feel well myself. There's people in my household who do not feel well either. I think it would be in your best interest to take health markers for yourself right now. I think one of the best ideas I did see was a short video on TikTok where a guy was saying, there's an easy way that you can go ahead and kind of get markers for yourself for receipts for what you were experiencing, what you were exposed to, buying cheap like mason jars and put your water and put the date and the time that you took the water sample and have that set aside. I think more specifically, the soil contamination would be for those who are major like landowners or those who have larger properties. But I think everyone should specifically be doing their water. Especially when you didn't take the fact that there is a known plume traveling through the water on top of what would already have been exposed into the water itself. I think it would be in everyone's best interest to make sure that they have their own individual health markers and they have those things set aside. So in case it does become an issue later down the line, you will have something to prove that you were healthy, free being exposed to this. So moving on. This is going to be where we get a bit conspiratorial here. This is from DC Drano. Just in case you were wondering why Biden and Pete Buttigieg are ignoring the toxic chemical spill in East Palestine, Ohio. You know, this is Donald Trump country. Completely Trump County. Trump country, everything. I'll be honest with you. I think when this first happened, I saw a lot of posts like this, you know, showing that Pennsylvania and like the major areas that would be affected if this did have some kind of major fallout was primarily in overwhelmingly white counties, primarily conservative areas, and they kind of blew it off because at the beginning of this news story, I didn't think it was going to get to the scale of which it was. And now with everything that's come out and seeing all of these different statements regarding all of the conflicting information, all of just the terror that's going on, the fear, I think it's a very real possibility that you need to take into consideration that this could very well have been some kind of aimed disaster. And you don't need to believe me completely outright. This is my opinion, and I'm going to show you some more bits of evidence here further along that I believe help aid my opinion, or at least aid my doubt into trusting the government's word wholly upon what is actually happening and taking place. So moving on, this is from Benny Johnson on Twitter. Now, I believe the original video is from Nick Sortor, who it was on the ground last night in the town hall, who did live tweeting during the event. What you'll see here is, this is the line to get into the town hall, stretches for half a mile. Thousands of people are pissed, and none of them trust what the government is telling them. Good. Clearly a lot of people lined up. And it looks like everyone's kind of talking to each other, amongst the groups that are standing there. I think to say that these people aren't terrified at this point, you have to be completely ignorant, or to want to make this about anything besides, like, we have real people in complete real danger. You're missing the point, and don't get me wrong, like, I cannot stand the Biden administration or Pete Buttigieg, but to make this about anything other than these people desperately need help and answers and a next step provided to them so they understand, like, what to do, or have any kind of, I guess, collection of themselves to either be sure that they need to move from their homes to somewhere else, or be given the step of what they can do to decontaminate and detoxify their current living area so they can continue to live happy, healthy lives and not be brought down by some kind of random toxic chemical spill, right? So let's continue. This is where it's going to get a lot more conspiratorial here. So this is from the Colombian Bugle. I saw a different couple posts of this. I think this 2-minute version was probably the best one. This is: residents near East Palestine tell Tucker Carlson they were told to sign a waiver to promise to not sue agencies monitoring the air near their property. Tucker: having the company whose train derailed tests for the effects of the derailment is a little like putting a Pfizer in charge of the FDA. Oh, I guess we did that. Let's take a listen.
Caitlin Schwartzwalder is. Tonight, she's right outside the town hall where no officials from the Biden administration or the train company bothered to show up. She's the owner of the Von Schwartz Doberman Kennel in Pennsylvania. She's a dog person. She lives about a mile over the border from East Palestine. And she has just been asked to sign a waiver promising not to sue agencies monitoring the air near her property. We thought that was telling. Caitlin Schwartzwalder joined.
Sign a waiver to not sue. See where this is going to go.
Joins us tonight with her boyfriend, Chris Wells. Caitlin and Chris, thank you so much for joining us. Caitlin, if you'll just explain your experience with the official who asked you to sign a waiver.
Sure. So what I can tell you is that we would like to have independent testing done. And people at Norfolk had suggested that they were going to offer services by an independent testing company to do air and water testing for us. When these people came to our property, the company was called CTEH. I call it CTech. And they had approached our property, came to our driveway and said, we're here to test the water and soil. And I said, okay, so you guys are independent from Norfolk. And they said, well, not exactly. So then they handed.
Well, not exactly. She says, are you independent from Norfolk? They said, well, not exactly. This is a joke, guys. A joke.
Handed us a contract. The contract stated that essentially Norfolk or any of its affiliates, were going to be, encroaching on the property. They were going to be doing the testing, and that it was essentially a hold harmless agreement. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but what I can tell you is that I did not want to risk anything for my future, the future of the business, by signing this contract. EPA was also there, and we had asked, Chris specifically had asked EPA if they could come in by themselves or without signing of any agreements, and they denied that.
She said individually her boyfriend Chris asked the EPA if they would come in and do individual testing, individual of Norfolk Railroad, to do testing for the air and water and soil, and not require them to sign some kind of waiver or hold harmless agreement, and they denied them. Open your eyes. Okay, moving on. Now, this is a bit longer, and I'm only going to play the first beginning portion of this, but this is from Adiaz, who I'm assuming she is okay, this says that she is a investigative journalist. Ted Murphy is a resident of East Palestine, Ohio. Ted lives right near the fallout site and moved his mother immediately after the derailment, but before the explosion. Sunday after the derailment, he came back to her insulin and encountered the chemical fallout. His skin later became red, like he had fell asleep on Myrtle Beach all day, and his lymph nodes became sore. I inhaled that air and I thought I was going to freaking die. I almost wrecked my freaking truck, Ted said. The road looked like a wet ribbon. I'm not moving back into my house. I just got done doing all that work on the inside of it. I just bought all new appliances, new furniture, new beds. I made my mom a brand new home. Now I gotta leave. It ain't right. The creek is dead. You go on and step on rocks now, and there's oil that comes out around the rocks. Dead newts, dead lizards, dead salamanders, dead fish, dead snakes, I think you get the picture. Let's take a listen.
What's up, guys? Here in East Palestine, Ohio. Here with, and it's Tom Murphy? Ted Murphy, Mr. Murphy here. And what's your experience been like with this entire situation over the past couple weeks, sir?
Horrific. I'm evacuated out of my house before they pulled the evacuation because my 80-year-old mom lives with me. My house was engulfed in fumes. So I got her out, packed some clothes, and then Sunday I come back to get her insulin because we didn't grab her insulin. When I'd left to go back over, the fumes in town were nothing like they were on 170 coming out of that creek. I inhaled that air and I thought I was going to freaking die. I thought I was going to die. I almost wrecked my damn truck. The road looked like a wet ribbon.
Whoa.
You tell me I didn't suck something in. There wasn't shit in that creek.
And did you have to go to the hospital, or?
I went to the hospital a week later.
Oh, wow.
And I'm so stressed out about it that when I went into the hospital, as soon as they put a cuff on me to check my blood pressure, I had 3 doctors standing there, and they took me back and put an EKG on me and had a shocker sitting there ready because they thought I was going to have a damn heart attack.
Wow. Wow, I'm sorry about that.
It's got me stressed.
Yeah.
I'm not moving back into my house. I just got done doing all that work to the outside of it. It's 3 big city lots. I got a big ass yard. I got a bad ass yard.
And now you can't use it.
Now I'm leaving it.
Yeah.
Hopefully my landlord's good about everything because I'm renting it.
Wow. Wow.
I just bought all new appliances, new furniture, new beds. I made my mom a brand new home. Now I gotta leave.
Yeah.
Right, you know, it ain't right. And we just want honest answers.
Yeah.
He goes, we just want honest answers. And and that makes me sad because you can see that he clearly had a lot of effort and appreciation for the house he was putting forward. He's trying to tell a story about how he's putting it up together for his mom. It's like, he just wants to know, like, what is going on, right? He's more terrified that he might perish over something he doesn't even understand. I'm going to say it again for like the 10 millionth time. Like, buy bottled water. Make sure you are doing everything to keep your health first. Be careful. If you notice anything that's off, immediately get to your doctor. Immediately go find your doctor. Ask your doctor questions for your health, for your safety moving forward. Okay, moving on. Now this is going to be even more conspiratorial because if you are an avid follower of Temple, you will know exactly who BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street is. They are the ownership top holders of almost every large company that exists, period, in the United States, point blank. If you don't believe me, go and look it up. It's the same thing for like any large multimedia company. Here, I'll do it for you right now. Let's go. What should I do this? Stock ownership. See? Vanguard, BlackRock, right there. Let's see. Stock ownership, Amazon, Vanguard, BlackRock. Now, State Street, I think, is the smaller one of these 3. Well, you're not seeing it on these. Oh, come on, CNN. Nobody wants to look at CNN. Okay, what's another like big company? You already knocked the 2 biggest one out. I mean, let's do something random. Netflix. Stock ownership. Oh, would you look at that? Vanguard, BlackRock, the same exact people have the largest percentage stakes in those large companies. Just so happen to be the same companies who own the large percentage stakes in Norfolk Southern. And see, this is the kind of stuff that people don't pay attention to. Like, there already is some large multi-conglomerate aggregate company that owns everything. Now, they don't own everything in the large percentage stake 100%, but when these same companies share essentially a demanding stake, you know, most of those combine for anywhere from 12 to 15% stake percentages on entire companies such as Walmart, Amazon, Disney, Netflix, so on and so forth. They primarily have a large finger on what happens with those companies. So if you want to go down the rabbit hole a little bit, I would keep your eye on those three companies. Why do they own everything? Why do three companies own all of that stuff? And if you want to get more even ridiculous about it, I believe it's BlackRock in particular owns the largest percentage share of all real estate. What kind of country are we going to be when one company owns the majority of all apartments? Terrifying stuff. Anyways, let's continue. Now, what you're about to see is Ohio's very own version of Dr. Fauci and the everything is okay. To think that this would come out after they declared the area was safe is laughable. Laughable. Let's take a listen.
And also, Governor, if you were to live in the area, would you feel comfortable moving back into your home?
She yells out, Mr. Governor, would you feel comfortable moving back into your home if he were to be a resident of East Palestine? This is his answer.
Look, I think that I would be drinking the bottled water.
I would be drinking the bottled water, he says. Your own governor, who said to move back into your homes and everything was safe, says he would himself not trust the water in the area and that he himself would drink the bottled water. Just, man.
And I would be continuing to find out what the tests were showing as far as the air.
Look at this. I would continue to find out what the tests are showing, including the air. If you didn't know, if you didn't know what the tests were saying in the first place, why did you let people move back into their homes? Government is worthless. Absolutely worthless. How many people's lives have you already irreversibly damaged because you told them to move back into their homes while it was covered in an odorless, colorless, toxic garbage? There's more. Look at that stupid face, too. Look at that stupid face. He's mad that you asked him the question. Pathetic.
I would be alert and concerned, but I think I would probably be back in my house.
And then this tweet even says, the bow tie and lab coat not really helping the suspicion. This one of those scientists we've been told to trust for the last 3 years. Oh, also, short tweet, but a small update. Breaking from Matt Kausch. Ohio Attorney General drops all charges against reporter arrested for reporting on East Palestine, Ohio train derailment spill and burn off. That would be News Nation reporter Evan Lambert getting his charges dismissed. And good on them for doing so. I'm sure most of you have seen this photo, but if you haven't, this was a passenger photo taken while flying over East Palestine, Ohio. An absolutely toxic black cloud that looks like a nuclear bomb went off in this region. But yes, the water's fine, guys. Come on in. Joke. Now continuing on the conspiratorial train. I guess it's even conspiratorial. This is a real video. This is from Vax Free on Twitter. The caption on this says, Williamsburg, Ohio, went to boil some water, and this is what I seen. Like, unusual buildup. Like, white powder coating on these bubbles here. Oh, yeah, you can see that. There's, like, flakes on the bottom side here. And that's just from boiling pure water, if this video is true. Listen, those of you who live within like an hour radius, like if you live within an hour's drive of East Palestine, I think it's upon you, specifically if you do have a private water well, you should probably set aside some water and boil it and see what kind of reaction you get. Why is a chemical from train derailment traveling all through our drinking water? How far are they going to let this stuff go before they call national emergency? Get ready. Now, this is a picture taken of the waiver that would have been given to the individuals who live in East Palestine. That was referred to from the Fox News clip that we watched earlier. Now you can see here, this is a property access agreement and release. Now you can see the date there is February 11th, 2023. Redacted information, the specific information. Caitlin, I believe that was the name of the girl. Maybe this was her picture she took. Now this reads, the legal and rightful owner or occupant of the property, landowner, hereby authorizes Norfolk Southern, the railroad company, its affiliates, subsidiaries, parents, contractors, associated environmental professionals, and assisting local, state, and federal agencies, including but not limited to CTEH, LLC, and any of their personnel, collectively monitoring team to access the property for air monitoring or environmental sampling. You can check outside the home and inside the home. Now, the important part here. Landowner agrees to identify, release, and hold harmless unified command from and against any and all legal claims, including for personal injury or property damage arising from monitoring team's performance of air monitoring or environmental sampling at the property on the date of signature below. Landowner states he or she has the authority to grant access to the property and to sign this document. So essentially they are saying, yeah, we'll test your air as long as you sign this agreement that says you can't sue us. I think that by itself right there is admitting that there's going to be unpleasant results in this testing. So you're already coming into this with we know what's there, and we know you asking us by telling you what's there is going to automatically put the liability on us. So the only way we're even going to tell you what's there is if you sign this agreement that holds us harmless and that you can't sue us. Guys, it's a joke. How this was not called a national disaster or a national emergency, or at least a statewide emergency right off the rip, is beyond me. Absolutely beyond me. I'm getting fired up just sitting here because I might have already been affected. I live within 60 miles of the place. The water I've already drank in the last couple of days probably already had some of this garbage in it. You've already probably drank some of that garbage too if you live near that area. And while you ain't been just as pissed as I am, and you probably are, but like, man, it took less than like 2 years to go from lockdowns of COVID to having another ridiculous, egregious incident of them saying, trust the science, you're healthy, we're all safe, it's all good here. What a joke. This is a really good video. I'm not going to play this thing in its entirety, but this is from the More Perfect Union. The Norfolk Southern derailment has been brewing for years, and if we don't listen to unions, East Palestine, it's going to happen again. This video here he goes into good detail explaining the lack of safety controls, safety commands of what they do with trains is complete garbage. And I think even in there, he's got an interview with someone who was a part of the Norfolk Southern, explaining just how bad the safety regulations are. It's meant to do profiteering. It's not meant in any way to hold anyone's safety or health in mind. It's purely how much can these large ownership companies make as much money as possible. And that brings relevance to why I pointed out BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard. The same three companies who have their finger on everything in this country. Look at this picture right here. Look at the green water in there. I know you could just say like, oh, it's muddy water. But that has a distinct, like, look at the water here on the left-hand side, the left-hand corner image. That water is in mud as well. Now look to the water that's on to the right of it on the other side of the track. Two distinct colors of the water. And the last thing that I have, which I just noticed a little bit before I was gathering my information to make this video in the first place, was apparently that it was captured that that the train was on fire before it even got East Palestine. From Mike Crispy's shocking new footage on the East Palestine, Ohio train on fire before the derailment. Is this all intentional? Where's Mayor Pete?
You see the train car going through, and you see the train car clearly on fire. Now, from what we understand about how trains work and how the rail system works, is that under any situation in normal terms, this would have sent an alert to...
Oh yeah, you can see it here. that cars are engulfed in flames near the bottom of it.
To the rail conductors and the people, and they would have stopped the operation, full stop. So the trains were actually on fire, had already caught on fire before it derailed and crashed, to which I say, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah, and it looks like those are like possibly the brakes catching on fire, like on the low part. And these sensors, they're actually built into the tracks, not on the train. So if anything's hot on the tracks, like they're immediately notified.
Absolutely. So it's like these things don't just happen by accident, okay? Where is Mayor Pete Buttigieg? Such an obvious thing occurring before our very eyes. Where is Mayor Pete Buttigieg saying, wow, this was one of the most reckless negligence of transportation we've ever seen?
All of this information that came to light just in the last day, you combine everything, right? You combine the fact that they won't test you or monitor your air quality, your soil quality, your water quality, unless you sign a waiver saying you won't hold them accountable. This is overtly dominated white area, overtly dominated conservative area. You take into effect, what is the ownership behind the company, Norfolk? It is the same large ownership stake people who people have been pointing to in the past as buying everything up, having their finger on too many things. Then you combine what we just saw in the very end. The train is literally on fire before it made it to East Palestine. Why was it not stopped beforehand? Was there anywhere it could have stopped that would have resulted in less damage? I don't know. But I'm sure there's answers to that somewhere too. We just don't have them. And then to top it off, your governor who declared it was safe to return home then comes out a week after and says, I would actually be drinking the bottled water and I would be concerned about the tests that they're doing. Guys, your government will never have your best interest in mind. In fact, they will suck and take from you until you are a simple husk that withers away into nothing, and they will do it to the next generation and the next generation, as long as everyone is apathetic enough to let it continue. I know that was a lot, and hopefully we covered quite a bit of reasonable information that you've not seen, and I hope this was helpful to you, and I hope you all remain in good health. Anyways, peace.